everyone. My name is Abdelaziz Al-Jaloud. You are behind, and everyone is going to leave you in the dust. That is the message that we have been told ad nauseum. I am instead hopeful of the future. I am an indefinite optimist. I believe that the future will be good, even if I can't explain how. But today I'll attempt to explain why. Over the past 3 years, one message has permeated every avenue of media. It is plastered on every billboard, tech blog, and consulting report. It is in every anxious water cooler conversation and half whispered in every performance management report. You are behind, and AI is going to make you obsolete. This frames AI as some kind of boogeyman that is coming to take your place, who will leave you as helpless with technology as your grandparents are with the newest iPhone. But here's what I want to challenge this morning. This framing as a race is not only unhelpful, it's also inaccurate. And it's preventing us from seeing what's actually happening and what we need to do about it. Paradigm shifts, such as those that happened during the Industrial Revolution and the advent of the internet, recontextualize all previous assumptions. We can't see what's ahead, and every guess we had seems to fall flat. It feels like we're standing at the edge of a black hole. There's a fear narrative of how you're falling behind, of how the gap is widening every day. And this framing is fundamentally wrong. That's how it feels. One more step and we cross the event horizon. One more breakthrough and human work becomes obsolete. But look back. We've been standing at this edge for generations. When machines took over physical labor, we thought, this is it. This pushes us over. When computers took over calculation, we thought, no, this is it. This is going to make the difference. And when the internet took over information, we thought, surely it has to be now. Every time there's a new thing, every time we're certain this new thing will finally be the shove that sends us into the void. And every time we find our footing again. Now it's AI, and the message is everywhere. This is it. This is the last stand. It feels closer than ever, and using AI to do something is truly impressive. Something that used to take hours now takes minutes. At every junction such as this, we've uncovered a new facet of what defines human capability and redefined it in this context. The latest definition, the one that emerged from the Industrial Revolution and crystallized during the dot-com era, seemed straightforward enough. We believed that humans were valuable because we could recall information and process it. That was it. Those were the two pillars holding up human intelligence and human capability. And now those two pillars are crumbling. Not because humans are becoming less valuable, but because we built our sense of value on too narrow of a foundation. What we're witnessing isn't the obsolescence of human capability. It's the exposure of how poorly we understood it in the first place. Every time technology has automated what we thought made us special, we've discovered something deeper. When machines took over physical labor, we thought, but humans can think. When humans started to think, we thought, but humans can create. And now when AI starts creating, we're thinking, but humans can. And that's where we're standing. We're searching for the next facet of human capability that will make up the newest definition. So let me offer one. People are still much better at learning. You've used these tools. You've seen it. You ask for 5 bullet points, it gives you 7. You tell it not to mention something, it mentions it anyway. You ask for a citation, it makes one up, full with a new author and a URL that leads nowhere. These aren't edge cases. This is just the average Monday. Training an AI model is expensive, not just in money, but in time, in data, in infrastructure, and in human effort as well. These models you see today are the result of work by large teams, running on hardware that costs billions. And after all that, you still need someone to babysit them when you give them a unique or novel task. So what happens in the real world? We have guardrails. Someone has to decide what good enough looks like. Someone has to catch the mistakes before they reach the end user. Someone has to know when the AI's confident tone is masking complete nonsense. And that someone is oftentimes you. Now, here's the thing. Could we train AI to handle most of these edge cases? To learn your company's specific rules, to understand the unwritten rules of your particular team? Probably. But think about what that would require. A custom data set, a custom training run, a custom evaluation for one company and for one team and for one particular set of processes that will probably change in the next 3 months. Meanwhile, a new hire figures out in his second week. Not because someone built them this custom pipeline where they were able to onboard, but because they asked a question at lunch, because they watched how a senior handled a difficult conversation. And because of those small moments, we can see how humans are great learners. We generalize without being told to. We pick up on context no one explicitly taught us. This is human capability. Not what you memorized in school, not what you can recall on command, but what you can become. For decades, we built everything on two things. How much can you remember, and how fast can you process that? That's what we tested. That's what we valued. But that was never the full picture of human potential. That was just the easiest thing to test and measure. To define capability by only what you can recall would be doing a disservice. I think we should focus on what you can learn. Human capability development is about creating conditions where growth can happen, where people learn continuously, where they're supported in becoming more capable over time, and not just trained once and expected to repeat forever. As Her Royal Highness Princess Rima bint Bandar mentioned yesterday, what we've observed in our participation in Vision 2030 is that human capital is the actual driver of what you want in a competitive modern economy. Think about the difference between training and development. Training teaches you a specific skill for a specific task. Development creates the conditions for someone to grow, to learn from experience, and to become more capable over time. Let me tell you about an organization that understands this very deeply. The MISC Foundation didn't just offer me a training program. They offered me a journey of continuous learning. Most importantly, with permission to fail, but also a responsibility to keep trying to improve. When I joined the MISC Fellowship in 2023, I was expecting lectures and a certificate. What I got was a team of people who thought nothing like I do. A problem with no clear answer, and the space to fail until I figured it out on my own. And I can proudly say that it made all the difference. Every time I engage with MISC, I'm reminded that I'm not done learning, that the journey doesn't have a finish line, that the most capable leaders are the ones who never stop learning. Here's where the story gets a bit more personal. Because MISC didn't just develop me, it empowered me to develop others. I've seen what happens when talent meets opportunity. I've also seen happen what happens when it doesn't. When you grow up in a remote area, when you attend schools with limited resources, the world can feel very, very small. Not because you lack ability, but because you lack access. I care deeply about changing that. That's why I work with Naqsh, a nonprofit focused on youth empowerment and upskilling. And MISC believed in what we were doing. Their nonprofit incubator program gave us the opportunity to scale. Today, Naqsh has reached over 20,000 direct and indirect beneficiaries. But the numbers that matter the most to me personally are these. Over 50% of our cohorts come from public schools, and over 30% come from remote areas. These are young people who did not have access to networks. They did not have access to resources, and sometimes they didn't even have the belief that these opportunities existed. And now they do. That's what capability development looks like, when it reaches the people who need it most. MISC specifically bet on me in a lot of contexts, and I'm very grateful for what they did on my personal development journey. This is why I'm bullish on the future. For decades, we've been measuring the wrong things. We tested what you can recall, we rewarded how fast you can process, and we built entire education systems around this, entire hiring pipelines around this, entire definitions of what it means to be intelligent. 2 pillars, recall and processing. And now machines do both better than we could ever. So the pillars are gone, and we're left asking, what's left? Here's what's left. What was always there. The thing we never measured because it was the harder thing to test. What you can become. Not what you know, but what you can learn. Not where you are today, but where you can go. The capacity to develop the skills you'll need tomorrow. That's human capability. That was always human capability. We just never tested for it. Now think about what becomes possible when we remember. when a community has access to tools that remove the barriers, when the mechanical tasks that used to take hours now take minutes, what's left is time. Time for people to learn from each other, to build knowledge that matters in their context, to build judgment through experience. And that's what AI can be. Not a replacement for human potential, a tool that makes room for it. The Human Capability Development Program's role is creating conditions where humans can develop, where lifelong learning is a lived reality instead of some fictitious imagination, where communities have the tools and support to grow their own talents in their own way. When you recognize that capability isn't about what you already know, but what you can become, not just about competing on mechanical tasks, but about developing judgment, continuous learning, and growing in a community, that's the optimism worth holding on to. Because every time we've been forced to rediscover what makes us human, we've found we were capable of so much more than we ever thought. And me personally, I believe that this time will be no different. Thank you.